Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to our channel, and today's video, what you think doesn't matter. Now this video is for you today if you've ever had somebody ask you a simple question like, what are you thinking? What's on your mind? What thoughts are running through your head? And you have felt exposed or scared, vulnerable or defensive, because you probably feel that way when asked that question. Because you think that what you think, the thoughts you have, are really important. That they're really important specifically in that they reveal something about you, they mean something about you. And you're about to expose that in your true self to the other person. Maybe that version of you or those thoughts that you have don't quite line up with your values or your morals or what you intrinsically feel. That these thoughts don't line up with who you want to be and who you're actively working towards being in the world. So today we're going to talk about these fundamental thought errors in thinking about your thinking. And it's going to release you to help unpack your brain and actually see what is in there and figure out what is actually in line with your true values and what is safe to say or not, and when. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be at all times acting in line with our values, and our actions, all of our actions come from first our thoughts and then the emotions that those thoughts create. Our actions, our behaviors come from those emotions. Now, if you've been following my work for a while, I'll forgive you if you're feeling a little bit confused, conflicted right now, because a lot of my work is encouraging you and trying to find motivation in you to watch, observe your thoughts. And in part, I aim to create that natural motivation by showing you how your thoughts influence your emotions and influence your behaviors. Ultimately, I want to show you how your thoughts do matter, how your thoughts create your results. I want to show you how you can have so much more control and peacefulness in your life by recognizing that your thoughts matter. And this is all true. But stay with me. Your thoughts matter in that they create your emotions, behaviors, and therefore your results in your life. But your thoughts don't matter in the sense that they reveal something definitive, moral, value-based about you. The thoughts that pop up in your mind, the thoughts that appear, that your mind presents, that your mind creates, don't actually correlate with some definitive verdict that you could draw about yourself. Your thoughts aren't inconsequential in that they are creating the results in your life, but your thoughts aren't a reflection of some truth about who you are. So your thoughts matter, but also they don't matter, right? Your thoughts, what I'm talking about with your thoughts here is detaching your thoughts from your identity, de-identifying with the thoughts that you have. This is especially important if you're aware of lots of your automatic thoughts. Let me explain. Creating thoughts is just what your brain does. Fire, 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 thought, 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 thought. Where do thoughts come from? We don't know. Are they perfectly logical? Certainly not. Do they reveal something about our intrinsic self or being or value? We don't know. What we do know is that you can hold two conflicting thoughts in your mind, two mutually exclusive thoughts. You can have two truths present in your mind that can't coexist. So how can it be true that our thoughts represent something intrinsically about us? Which one is it? Only one can be true, yet both are thoughts in my mind. Now, very quickly, this feels very philosophical and fluffy and like, okay, now what? So what? But remember, thoughts don't matter, but also thoughts do matter because they create your results. So if you want to live a deliberate life and deliberately create things in the world with all that's in you, and you want to emotionally enjoy your life. You cannot have an enjoyable experience of life no matter what your circumstances are if you cannot access and be with your emotions. If you don't have emotional regulation and emotional skills, you cannot enjoy your life. So if you want those results of emotional enjoyment and fulfillment and even being present in the world, and also being deliberate and creating things in the world, your thoughts do matter. So let's clear this up so this side of things can stop getting in our way of this side of things. Because as long as we think that our thoughts matter in this way, that there's something to hide from, something that we don't want to find or see, something that will ultimately reveal some definitive facts about who we are and who we will always be, we're not going to want to look at our thoughts, and then we miss out on this side of things, the results that we can create with our thoughts. So I see this in my clients without fail, and lots of my clients end up with vulnerability hangovers. If you are familiar with that term from Brené Brown, go and read everything she's got. She's amazing. She does an amazing job of normalizing this messy, confusing work of being a human, and how our happiness and success is ultimately dependent on our ability to be vulnerable, which in part involves seeing what's happening in our mind. So my clients can get these vulnerability hangovers because they commonly say they feel like they've revealed too much. And in part, they're saying they feel like they've revealed too much to me as their coach, but also to themselves. The main part of this is that they feel like they're seeing these parts of themselves that they're not quite comfortable coming to terms with yet, or don't want to look at. They want to put it back in a box, shove it in the back of the garage, pop some more boxes around it so you can't really even see that it exists, and just pretend forevermore that we never saw that, and we never have to see it again. But let me show you what happens with this space of coaching. When you bring up those thoughts that trigger these automatic judgments in your mind. So my clients commonly are really uncomfortable with thoughts that they find that, in their opinion, are selfish, self-serving, egotistical, punishing, entitlement, etc. When they find these thoughts that are bad in terms of their current value systems, they're highly compelled and motivated to put that all in a box and throw it, push it to the back of the garage, let it get dusty. And what a coach does is a coach can see that one step further. A coach can see that the reason that you want to put it in the box is because of what you're making those thoughts mean. So what we're doing here is we're thinking about your thoughts. And this is a critical difference. And what I want to distinguish for you today, there's having thoughts, and then there's thinking. These are two different ways, two different functions in our mind. And usually we'd say both of these things are thinking. We would just whimsically call both of these things thinking, crudely put them in the same category, when they're totally different things. And once through coaching, once through being in this space and having that separation, that safety to look at your thoughts, you will see a clear difference between having thoughts and thinking. And that frees you up to think about your thoughts after you can see your thoughts. So let me tell you the difference. Thinking is noun, the process of considering or reasoning about something, or adjective, the process of thinking or using rational judgment, intelligent. And this is how thinking over here can be connected to some value-based judgment about yourself, or recognizing what your values actually are, the way that you reason. And there's some different aspects of cognition that come into this, such as your ability to solve problems and project forwards, your past experience that comes into recognizing what possibilities might be probable, other judgments about what is probable. But a lot of the time when you're thinking, some of your values, the ways that you think about the world and what you prioritize in the world, can come into thinking. But having thoughts over here, on the other hand, I want you to think of as simply that. Your brain presenting thoughts. There's no reasoning, there's no value-based judgment, there's no problem solving or probability involved. It's just, here's a sentence in my mind, a picture in my mind, however you define a thought. And as I've said, we don't really know how thoughts work, where they've come from. They just seem to appear in our minds. And in training for cognitive behavioral therapy, they teach us that these are just automatic thoughts. They just fire off. They happen automatically without any input, any active input from us, and certainly not our deliberate higher brain. So the reason that I want you to distinguish these two types of thinking, I want this side of things to be thinking, and having thoughts to be thought of as a separate, a different thing, a different entity now. Because the problem that I keep seeing is we attach some moral, value-based verdicts to the thoughts that appear in our mind. And the problem that I see about that is we use these to draw conclusions about who we are. If we're a good person or a bad person. If these good or bad thoughts reveal that we are good or bad. And then we don't want to look at them at the very least, let alone how we otherwise hide from the world and hide in our behaviors and inhibit intimacy with ourselves and also in our relationships. If you're too afraid to see your thoughts, to reveal your thoughts because you think they mean something definitive about you, how will you ever foster intimacy, create an intimate space and a genuine connection in any of your relationships, romantic or otherwise, with your spouse, with your life partner, with your children, with your parents, with your friends, with your co-workers? This is part of the work that I teach my clients when we coach. First, the intellectual understanding that your thoughts that your brain just presents to you does not necessarily have anything to say about yourself. However, what we do in coaching is we train you to take responsibility for those thoughts. Those thoughts appear, and then what? Then what do you do? Then how do you think about those thoughts? What do you think about those thoughts? This is the metacognition process, thinking about your thinking. So let me give you some examples of the thoughts that can come up that we try to hide from and therefore miss out on actually exploring and finding out what we actually think about them. Until we see what's going on, we can't make a different decision and also work out what we think and who we are, what we value, what is good to us. And you need to work that out so you can work out how you respond to these thoughts. If this is a thought that's in line with your values, you feel that emotionally and you put that out in the world in who you are. So some of the thoughts that we commonly hide from: wanting someone else to suffer or fail or be wrong, lusting or desiring for somebody in some capacity other than the person that you're committed to in a relationship, wanting to quit after some other commitment to yourself, whether it's a commitment to just doing a hard thing that challenges you, that you want for your future self, or whether it's quitting from a commitment that you've made to somebody else, for example, in your job. Wanting for somebody to submit to you and just do what you want, just do what you've asked them to do, even if you know it's not what they want to do. Or maybe something's going really good for you and it's something that you want for your future self, and you have thoughts of wanting it to all fall apart or to sabotage it yourself because another part of you wants the ease or the comfort in the moment of that, or to avoid the discomfort of it. Now, these thoughts might tickle something in you because they might really resonate, feel familiar and feel true. And a lot of the time they only feel true because they are familiar, because you're thinking they're thoughts that have been in your mind before. But remember, just because you are having thoughts doesn't mean they reflect anything about you. And a big trick here is when you think them over and over again, when they be presented in your mind many times, that familiar feeling can bring some attachment to those thoughts for you. And what I want you to do is to detach your identity, your values from the automatic thoughts that your brain presents. You can take these thoughts and get interested in them, especially if they're showing up in your emotions and your values. And I highly encourage that. It's a lot of the work that we need to do, but it's very difficult to do this work on your own mind. What you're trying to do here is solve the problem from the same thinking that you currently have that created the problem itself. And I'm paraphrasing that quote there from a famous scientist: you can't solve the problem with the same thinking that created it. So what I highly recommend is get a coach. Have somebody look at your thoughts with you and help you determine what are thoughts and what do you actually think. Totally different things. When you do this work, you will meet discomfort after discomfort after discomfort along the way, and things will become very overwhelming and confusing for most of us, even when we're experienced. A coach is trained to hold this space for you and help be another detached observer of your thoughts. The other thing I highly recommend you do is start to create this space yourself in your intimate relationships. And you can do this by explicitly offering that you understand the difference between your loved one having thoughts and them actually thinking. This might sound like, I want to have a conversation where we just explore what we might think about this. We just explore what thoughts we're having right now. I won't hold you to any of the thoughts that you bring up here. I won't Nothing is your final answer. I'm not taking this so seriously. Nothing is going to reflect on who you are until you say, this is what I think, this is what I stand by, this is what I value. Then we're talking. But until that point, I'm not going to make your thoughts mean anything about you until you yourself have decided what you think. Let's explore. I hope you guys bring this one into your life. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next one.